Conservative new media viewers, NBA fans around the world, what's up? It's me, PFV, Paul F. Ilario, the NBA expert, and we're here to discuss our prediction for the 2015 NBA playoffs between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, when I did the Game 5 video for the Western Conference Finals between the Warriors and the Rockets, I said that I would be doing a prediction video in a couple of days, and that is what this video is. Now, I've been pouring through statistics on this matchup, and there certainly is there's a feeling out there, there's a feeling in the odds maker community. I think there's a pretty strong feeling in the general public about how this series is going to go, although I do think things have been tilting a little bit away from that narrative as we've gone along here. I could talk about this literally for an hour or 2 hours, but I'm going to try to make it as simple as I can and keep this video relatively short in length, so we can just keep it as simple as we can. Not everybody wants to talk about this or explore this to the depth that I like looking at stuff statistically and otherwise in the NBA. So we're just going to keep it, again, a little tighter, a little shorter. The first thing that I want to talk about is the matchup between the two teams and their defensive and offensive ratings, the ranking for those ratings in the 2015 playoffs, and then finally what their net rating is. Now, some of you might not have any familiarization with these different terms, so let me go over them quickly. Offensive rating means how many points your team scores per 100 possessions. The per 100 possessions is simply done to make it a standard measurement that can be compared between one team and another team. It's better than doing it, say, points per game, because that's not as accurate or standard a measurement as per 100 possessions is, because some teams play at a faster pace than others do, and so on and so forth. So I went and I looked over Cleveland and Golden State's rankings for the NBA playoffs, not the regular season. These rankings are just for the NBA playoffs. And you can see in the graphic, the slide in front of you, Cleveland Cavaliers have a 100.5 offensive rating, which is the best among all the teams in the 2015 playoffs. That simply means that their offense has been the best of any other teams in this playoff run. However, as a aside or as a note when discussing these ratings and rankings, many people would say, look, Cleveland's played in the East, and so they've played weaker competition, and therefore their ratings and rankings are going to look better than they would had they played in the West. I think there's some general truth to that, although to be fair with you, I think the Warriors have had a pretty fortunate path in their own run to the finals. They avoided the Clippers and they avoided the Spurs, which are two teams that I think match up fairly well with the Warriors, and by missing those two teams, I think that has helped the Warriors, and it's probably helped their ratings and rankings some as well. So, again, turning back to the ratings and rankings here. Cleveland, 111.5 offensive rating. Obviously, it's very good if they're the best in the NBA playoffs so far. 101.9 defensive rating, which is ranked fourth among all teams. And finally, the net rating is the difference between the offensive rating and the defensive rating. Essentially, this means how many points are you outscoring your opponent by per 100 possessions. So a positive number means you're outscoring your opponents per 100 possessions, and a negative number would mean that your opponent is outscoring you per 100 possessions. Obviously, these are the two remaining teams in the NBA playoffs for this season. they're both going to have positive numbers because essentially these are the two best remaining teams. So the Cavaliers actually have a plus 9.6 net rating, which is very good, and it's particularly good when you compare it with the Warriors ranking of their net rating as plus 8.5. So the Cavs have the advantage there, which is something that would probably surprise a lot of people. Now, again, I think many observers would say, well, the Cavaliers are just feasting on the weaker East. Still, these are the types of statistical analyses that are important when it comes to breaking down and predicting games and predicting series. And what I mean by that is you got to give Cleveland stats respect, no matter who they played or who they didn't play. When looking at the regular season rankings between these teams, it's much different. Golden State has about a plus 10 net rating, and Cleveland only has about a plus 5 net rating. So it's much different. And the reason for that is because the Cleveland Cavaliers did not become the team that they are now until about halfway through the season. So in other words, the first half of their season made their regular season rankings look really bad. This is more of who Cleveland actually is. Although to make one more note or caveat, kind of an aside here, part of these rankings for the Cavaliers were done when Kevin Love was playing in the Boston series, and they were also being done when Kyrie Irving was healthier than he is right now or than he has been recently. So that might, since Kevin Love is no longer playing, okay, maybe the rankings or the ratings are a little bit less than what they look like. And similarly, because Kyrie Irving has not been playing. Still, the bottom line is, looking at this slide, when you look at these data points, this looks like a relatively even matchup. It doesn't look like a mismatch for the Warriors. It looks like Cleveland can hang in this situation. Even they might have a slight edge. So that's what the data is saying in this example. Now let's move on to the next slide. This is a slide that's this information is probably something that a lot of casual NBA fans and even statistically inclined NBA fans are not used to looking at. But it's an important data point I found in examining this matchup. And that is assist to field goals made ratio. What this basically means is how often are you passing the ball before you're scoring? Okay? So in other words, the closer that the number is to 1, to 1.000 to 1,000, the more you move the ball and share the ball as a team. The closer your number is to 0.000, the more that your offense tends to be isolation-based and one-on-one basketball. The reason why this is so important in the Cleveland versus Golden State matchup is because of what the data is telling us. Looking at the information for the two teams over the entirety of the 2015 playoffs coming into the finals, you will see Cleveland 0.532. What that means is basically Cleveland is getting an assist on 1 out of 2 made field goals. So 1 out of 2 made field goals, they're moving the ball, swinging the ball, and 1 out of 2 made field goals, they're doing isolation offense. Okay? Golden State, 0.644. That means they rely more on moving the ball and swinging the ball than Cleveland does. Golden State they don't want isolation offense. They want everybody touches the ball. Let's play like the Spurs and basically what Golden State's offense has looked like all year. Okay? Now here's where it gets really, really interesting. In the 2014-2015 head-to-head matchup, which you can see on the slide right now, the teams were 1-1 against each other. Okay? The first time that they played in Golden State. LeBron did not play in that game, and it was before the Cavaliers had made their major trades of the season, but they had not really come together, and LeBron was basically on a 2-week break to heal up his body. So there wasn't a ton to learn from that game necessarily. However, when the two teams met the next time, the second and final time of the regular season, they played in Cleveland, and both teams were basically at full strength. And we learned more from that game. Cleveland beat Golden State in that game, and they beat them pretty good. They beat them by about 11 or 12 points in a very fun game to watch. The trends of these two teams, in other words, the identity of their offensive style, is even more clear in the head-to-head matchup than it is in the playoff run. And that is Cleveland is going to tend more towards isolation offense. What that means is LeBron, dribble, take you to the basket, score, or try to score. Kyrie, dribble, take you to the basket or cross you up for a step-back jump shot. And even though Cleveland assisted on less than 40% of their made field goals against the Warriors, they still succeeded with it. In other words, that worked against the Warriors for Cleveland to be able to win and split the series in the regular season matchup. And the Warriors, probably even more interestingly, their tendency to swing and move the ball on offense and look for a pass before the shot rather than one-on-one play went up to .818, which means we're getting even closer to every single field goal that the Warriors scored against the Cavaliers came from an assist. And so you can see from the statistics how these teams want to play. Cleveland is going to take you and ISO you out, and they're good at it. The Warriors, when they play the Cavaliers in particular, they need to swing the ball. They want to swing the ball. Now, you can say that wasn't successful in the second game between these two teams, but in looking at the data of the first meeting between them in the regular season this year, it was almost the exact same number in Game 1 and Game 2. It was like .817 in the first matchup and like .821 in the second matchup, meaning that the Warriors' game plan against the Cavs is we must move the ball on offense. That's how we're going to attack this team. Even if we lose, that's the way we're going to play them. Okay? That's like I said, this is extremely important to understand this based upon what I'm going to say for the rest of this video. So I'll come back to it in a bit. Now, let's talk about what the Warriors must do in this series in order to win. First of all, Golden State has home court advantage. They were the best regular season team this year. I believe they won 67 games, which is incredible. They're like 46-3 at home this year, including in the playoffs, which is about a 94% win ratio. So they've got that advantage where it's almost impossible to beat them at their building. And obviously, if the Cavs are going to win the series, they must win at least one game in Golden State. We know these things. Warriors have serious advantages coming into this series, and that's important to recognize. Number one, keep the offensive discipline and move the ball. This goes back to statistics I was just talking about, the assist to field goal made ratio. We want to share the ball against the Cavaliers. We do not want to get into isolation basketball against the Cavaliers defense. So you got to stay disciplined, make the extra pass, and make the Cavaliers have to pursue you for one extra pass. Wear them down. Wear down the Cavs with your superior depth. The Warriors can play 11 men. They can play 11 men in their rotation and play them to good effect. And the 10th and 11th man being like Maurice Spates, David Lee, Festus Ezeli. Those are good basketball players. These aren't guys that are scrubs. They're deeper than the Cavs, and they need to use that and wear Cleveland down in this series. That's important for the Warriors in order to have success. Number 3, exploit the Cavaliers' ISO offense if possible. Now, I said Cleveland wants to play isolation offense. They look to play isolation offense. However, isolation offense is dangerous because it relies on excellent individual performance. In other words, LeBron has to be at his best to perform isolation offense well. Kyrie needs to be at his best to perform isolation offense well. It's much easier and much more sound to play team ball than to play ISO ball. So if the Warriors can encourage the Cavaliers to play that ISO offense when it's not working, that's going to be an advantage for the Warriors in this series. Number 4, the Warriors must attack Kyrie Irving on defense. Kyrie significantly improved in his defense this season, 2014-15 season. He's much better than he's ever been. However, he's still not a great one-on-one defender. And there's no way, in my opinion, that he can guard Steph Curry, in particular, on one-on-one defense. Finally, Kyrie is coming off of an injury. He's coming off of several injuries, actually. A sprained foot and tendonitis in his knee. That's going to make his defense even worse. So if you're the Warriors, you must go at Kyrie Irving. You must wear him out. He's the weak link, so you want to attack him. 5th, make LeBron shoot perimeter shots. In recent playoff runs, LeBron has been fantastic with his perimeter shooting. He's made an exceptional number of three-pointers. He's made an exceptional number of long twos. In this current playoff run, 2015 playoffs, LeBron is shooting about 18% from three-point range. It's a weakness, and it's a weakness that the Warriors are going to want to exploit. LeBron, when he gets tired, will force up threes. And so if you're the Warriors, you want to encourage LeBron to do that because based on the stats that we have, that's going to be to your advantage. Moving on, what the Cavaliers must do to win. Number 1, make Steph Curry work on both ends. Steph's going to get his points. He's almost unstoppable, basically. Make him work for his points. Double team him if you need to. Rough him up in a clean way, of course. We don't want anything dirty. Make him earn the points. And make him work on defense. The more that you can make Steph work on defense and attack him, the less energy he's going to have on the offensive end. That's critical. Steph Curry is the head of the snake for the Warriors, the same way that LeBron is the head of the snake for the Cavs. If you can take down the head of the snake, you've got a much better chance of beating that opponent. Number 2 for the Cavaliers, they must continue their strong offensive rebounding that they've displayed throughout the 2015 NBA playoffs. Here's a statistic that's going to surprise people. As good as the Cavaliers have been in offensive rebounding in this playoffs, and they've been incredible, the Warriors are averaging the same number of offensive rebounds per game as the Cavaliers are in the 2015 playoffs. Each team is averaging 12 offensive rebounds, okay? So in other words, what I'm telling you is the Cavs aren't going to have the massive advantage in this series that they've had in other series. So they're really going to have to work to maintain that edge, and they must do that if they're going to have a reasonable chance to win this series. Number 3, use the alley-oop and lob passes against Golden State's defense. The Cavs they're so good at throwing alley-oops that it's become a real weapon for them. And you definitely want to use that against the Warriors because you want to take Andrew Bogut, who is an excellent shot blocker, away from the basket. What I mean by this is, so if you're LeBron, you drive by your man, Andrew Bogut is then forced to come up and stop you, or else you're going to get a layup. So if Andrew Bogut comes up to stop you on the drive, you're throwing an alley-oop pass over his head to Timothy Mozgov or Tristan Thompson for the dunk. The Cavs have really been excellent at using this in the second half of the season, and I expect that they're going to continue to try to use it in pick and rolls and just in general against the Warriors. That is definitely one of the things they must do if they're going to succeed, in my opinion. Number 4, run Golden State off of the three-point line. What this means is when the Cavaliers are on defense, take away the three-point shot by Golden State as much as you can. Last year, 2 years ago, when the San Antonio Spurs defeated the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference semifinals, much of the success that the Spurs had was because they took away the three-point shot from the Warriors. Early in that series, it looked like the Spurs weren't going to be able to stop Golden State. Then they committed firmly that they were not going to let Golden State take three-point shots. And from that point on in the series, San Antonio took control, and they won the series, I believe, 4-2. Cleveland must do the same thing. Golden State's going to get shots, and they're going to get wide-open threes too. But the more that you can take it away, the better the chance you're going to have of winning this series. Number 5, make the game and series physical and draw fouls. Cleveland is better at Golden State than at drawing fouls, given the playoff statistics. I think Cleveland averages about 5 to 6 more free throw attempts per game than do the Warriors. So the Cavs want to exploit that. Not only can that kind of slow down the game and let Cavs get a little more rest because they don't have as much depth, also can get Golden State into foul trouble, which hurts their depth. So that's something that they want to do. And to be honest with you, the Cavs are a little bit physically tougher, in my opinion, than are the Warriors. Not that the Warriors are soft. I think that the Cavs have really forged an identity as a tough team, mentally and physically. So you want to try to introduce that into the series. We know all the stuff, Matthew Dellavedova, and he's dirty and da-da-da-da-da. Rough it up. Make it physical. 6th and finally, take Golden State out of their offense and get them to play isolation basketball against you. This goes back to the assist to field goals made ratio. Golden State doesn't want to play isolation basketball. So if you can make them play isolation basketball, if you can make this series into a playground basketball series, Cleveland's going to have a better chance to win, in my opinion. And the reason for that is because Cleveland has 2 isolation players in LeBron and Kyrie, and the Warriors only have 1 in Steph Curry. So that is advantage Cavs. The more that they can get Golden State to play that style and take them out of the passing, the better Cleveland's going to do in this series. Now, let me just say this before I move on to the actual prediction here. All of this information and the prediction that I'm going to make is based upon both teams being relatively healthy, given who is available. Obviously, Kevin Love is out for the playoffs. Anderson Varejao may come back, but he won't be a factor in this series. So I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about Kyrie Irving being relatively healthy. I'm talking about Klay Thompson being relatively healthy from his concussion. I'm talking about Maurice Spates being available for the Warriors after the injury that he had to his calves. So if those things are not true, if Irving's still hurting or Klay Thompson can't play because of the concussion, then that changes things. My assumptions are based on relatively good health for both teams, given who is available. Okay, so let's move on to the prediction itself. I believe, based upon the statistics and everything that we've seen, I'm leaning towards Warriors in 6 or 7 games. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you here. My gut feeling, not my gut and what I want to happen, but my gut feeling on this series is that the Cavaliers are going to win. But my mind and the analytics say that the Warriors are going to win. So it's better to go with your head than with your gut sometimes, particularly when you're trying to do things in a rational way. So I'm going to say Warriors in 6 or 7 games. However, and you see it underneath the prediction there, Cavaliers winning this series would not surprise me in the least. Not at all. And it wouldn't surprise me if they won it relatively easily. And what I mean by that is, if one of the two teams is going to crush the other one, I think that would be the Cavs crushing the Warriors. I know it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but I'll explain it more in a second. If the Warriors win, I think it's going to be a longer series. If the Cavs win, it probably would be in a longer series, but it could also be in a shorter series. Now, the reasons why I favor the Warriors is because Cleveland's offense is still a work in progress. As I said, they are more isolation-based rather than team ball-based, and I expect that to improve as the team continues to gel and to get more chemistry in the years to come with LeBron coming back and the new big three and so on and so forth and the new head coach. Number 2, Cleveland isn't healthy. They're missing Kevin Love. I mean, if you take away a star or a superstar level player from your team, your chances to win go down. No matter how well the Cavaliers have played, Kevin Love's offense is going to be missed in this series, in my opinion. His shooting and his scoring. So that's obviously a significant advantage to the Warriors. Third, the Warriors are deeper. They're deeper. Cavaliers could get worn out in this series, just run ragged. And they're going to have to protect against that. They're going to have to use a lot of timeouts for rest. They're going to have to play a couple different guys they probably don't want to play so that the guys can get a little more rest. I'm talking about guys like Kendrick Perkins, Mike Miller, Sean Marion. They're going to need to do that to keep their players fresh. The reason why my gut tells me that the Cavaliers could win this series and might win this series because the Cavaliers are a very tough and tested team. This team has gone through everything this year. At one point in this season, the team was 19-20. There were rumors about the head coach, David Blatt's job. There were rumors about, is LeBron quitting on the team when he took the 2 weeks off to rest his body? There were rumors that LeBron didn't want to play for Blatt. There were rumors that the whole team didn't want to play for Blatt, like a mutiny type of a situation. But they've gotten through all of that. And what I see with the Cavaliers now, they're just extremely unified, and they got an edge. They got a chip on their shoulder. And every single person in their rotation, and I'm talking like 11 deep. I'll include Mike Miller, Kendrick Perkins, Sean Marion. Every single player in that rotation for the Cavaliers, except for Kyrie Irving, is either been in the wars and the playoff battles, or they're clearly mentally and physically tough players. I'm not saying Kyrie's not mentally and physically tough. It's just he's young. He's inexperienced. When you look at guys, obviously LeBron's been through everything. Look at somebody like J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith had a difficult year, and he had to break the perception that he's just kind of this flake and he's a loser and he's going to mess up and he's going to bring down the team. Throughout these playoffs, JR's been huge. And so he's showing guts and determination that he's never really showed in his career. So he's mentally tough. Kendrick Perkins has always been mentally tough, and he's been through all kinds of playoff battles. Sean Marion's been through many playoff battles. Mike Miller has the ability to come in and change a game or a series with his shooting. Tristan Thompson is extremely mentally and physically tough, as was seen by his offensive rebounding. Matthew Dellavedova is a tough, gritty guy. This team, the Cavaliers, they've got a mojo. They've got something working for them. And I'm going to tell you, the Warriors are going to be tested by that. The Warriors are going to have moments in this series where they're going to have to answer the challenge. They're going to take a punch on the face, metaphorically, and they're going to have to deal with that. And I have more faith in the Cavaliers being able to do that than the Warriors being able to do that, because the Cavaliers have already had to do it the entire season. They're battle-tested. They're hardened. Whereas you saw the Warriors against the Rockets, they weren't playing that well. First two games of that series, they could have lost both of those games at home. I don't know if the Warriors are ready for this, but I know the Cavaliers are ready for this. Doesn't mean they're going to win, but they're ready to come out and throw haymakers and punches. I don't know if the Warriors are ready for that. They probably are, but we're going to have to see if they are. So that's why my gut tells me my gut leans towards the Cavs, but the statistics and the brain leads towards the Warriors. So that's what we have. I'm sticking with Warriors in 6 or 7 games. As I said, don't be shocked if the Cavaliers win this series. And don't be shocked if they were to win this series in an easier way than what people would imagine is possible. Nobody thought that the Cavs were going to sweep the Hawks. I can tell you that right now. A lot of people didn't think the Cavs were going to beat the Hawks, let alone sweep the Hawks. When the Cavs played Boston, Boston had finished the season on like a 25-12 run in terms of games won, games lost. They got swept. Chicago did present some challenges for the Cavs, and rightfully so. Chicago's a very talented and well-coached team, but in the end, Cleveland did what they needed to do with them. When the Warriors have been challenged in this playoffs, and that mostly came against Memphis, but it also came against the Rockets some, they did what they needed to do. But I will say this. If Memphis had been a little bit healthier, if Tony Allen had been healthier, and Mike Conley had been healthier, that series could have gone differently. But to the Warriors' credit, when they needed to step it up in that series, like in game 3 or 4 in Memphis, they seriously stepped it up. So they did answer the challenge there. Look, no matter who wins this series, it should be a fantastic series to watch. I think the ratings are going to be through the roof. This is what we've all been waiting for. LeBron versus Steph. Kyrie versus Steph. Kyrie versus Clay. I can't wait for this. And today is Sunday, May 31st, 2015, here in the United States. The series begins on Thursday, June 4th. So we've got whatever it is, 3 or 4 days between now and then. And I'm fine with the layoff. The layoff's not going to hurt either one of these teams. They'll both be ready. It's what it will do is it should make the basketball better, because each team's going to be rested up more. So we should see a higher level of basketball, particularly for the Cavaliers who need the rest, and for Klay Thompson who needs the rest because of his concussion. So I can't wait. I don't care who wins. I like both of these teams. So I'm going to be happy for either one of these teams, regardless of who wins. And they both have a lot to be proud of just to get to this point. The Warriors look good. They're validated, or whatever you want to call it, from making a coaching change that they made. Nothing against Mark Jackson, but it's worked out, obviously, for the Warriors. And for the Cavaliers, the way that they looked in the middle of the season, for them to go from that to the finals in year one of LeBron back in Cleveland is phenomenal. Like I said, this team has shown a lot this year. It's shown a tremendous amount. So one final statistic. Throughout these playoffs, the Warriors they're 12-3 in the 2015 playoffs in terms of won, lost. Cavaliers are 12-2. So like I said, I mean, you got to give the Cavs credit. No matter what anybody thinks, or no matter about the weak East argument, this is not a team to be taken lightly. Don't take this team lightly, because they've shown that that's a mistake. Okay, that is it for now. I hope you're all as excited as we are to watch this 2015 finals. Cannot wait. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Your comments below. Who are you picking? How many games? Why are you picking them? Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree with what I said? I want to hear it in the comments below. We encourage you to come and join the Conservative New Media Facebook group, which has over 4,000 members and counting. You'll find information for that in the video description below the video player. You'll also find information how you can come and check us out and follow us on Twitter. We are on Twitter a lot. We love talking to people there. We talk NBA and Jeremy Lin there all the time. Love to have you come and join us there as well. That information will also be in the video description below the video player as well. Once again, I am PFV Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. Thanks a lot for watching Conservative New Media. Again, only 4 more days or so to wait. Cannot wait to see how this series unfolds. I don't know what's going to happen. Most series and most playoff runs, I have a pretty good idea of how it's going to go. I don't know how this is going to go. I have some strong feelings, but I really don't know. And nothing's going to surprise me here. So I cannot wait for the ball to tip off on Thursday, June 4th. Take care. Hope you're having a great night, great day, wherever you are around the world when you watch this video. We will be talking to you again soon. The thing we're covering now, we're kind of keeping our eye on the French Open, of course, the Grand Slam major in tennis. And we will be looking to do videos after each NBA Finals game if we can. So stay tuned for those two things as well. Okay, that is it for now. Talk to you again soon.